Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this evening's semi-final debate. My name is Caleb, and I am the chairman for this debate. The timekeeper is Rashad Farina. The debate will be judged by a panel of three adjudicators who are Mrs. Shiror, Mr. Parkside, and Mrs. Lioness. The topic for our debate tonight is that the banning of plastic stirrers and cutlery in South Australia is a bad idea. The affirmative team seated to my right is from Parkside, and the negative team seated to my left is from Unley. The speaking time for this debate is 3 minutes. A single warning bell will sound 1 minute before the speaking time, and a double bell will sound at the speaking time. Please ensure that your mobile phones are switched off. I declare this debate open and call upon the first affirmative speaker, Vinnie Park.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that the banning of plastic straws, stirrers, and cutlery in South Australia is a bad idea. We define the topic as banning, meaning the legal disallowing. Plastic straws, stirrers, and cutlery as single-use plastic implements used by businesses. South Australia, as the state we are currently stated in, and a bad idea, meaning a negative method or solution to a problem. Today, as the first affirmative speaker, I'll be talking to you about how the ban on single-use plastics is a distraction from the core plastic issues, that this is an unnecessary political stunt, and how the ban will hurt fragile SA businesses. Our second speaker, Madison, will talk about how this ban will hurt disabled communities and how there are more effective and progressive solutions than a ban. Our third speaker, Evelyn, will rebut and sum up our team case. Now to my first point, that a ban on some single-use plastics is a distraction from the core pollution issues. Plastics are a problem. The big issue is making sure no plastics end up where they shouldn't. Take a close look at the data. The World Health Organization said that over 381 million tons of plastic flows into the oceans every year. And cutlery and straws are only 0.025% of that. Why are stirrers and straws the scapegoat here? Despite government regulations, we still find bags and plastic bottles in our oceans. KSAP says that over 80% of single-use plastic is recyclable, but 14% of that are disposed of properly. By teaching others how to dispose of plastic, not rushing or banning it, we'll educate rather than to blind the issue by a ban. My second point is that a ban is an unnecessary virtue signaling political stunt. Politicians rely on distraction, outrage, and misdirection to keep their careers alive. A ban on single-use plastics is another attempt for the SA Liberal Party to throw a shiny thing, a stunt, a signal of virtue to please young environment-caring voters and the moderate side of their party, which the advertiser describes as being in turmoil. State Environment Minister David Spearce says that we are picking the low-hanging fruit on this issue. We agree. This ban is a bad idea, and it's for the wrong reasons. My third and final point is that the ban comes at the worst times for SA businesses. CommSec quarterly report has shown South Australia to be the current weakest performing mainland economy. The advertiser reported that more than a third of SA's small traders believe that they can't survive the crisis. Why are our businesses the environmental guinea pigs? Single-use plastics are convenient and cheap, even with their flaws. Let businesses decide at their own rate. The Parade, Jetty Road Traders, and the Adelaide Central Market use plastic-free in their own time. This ban will hurt fragile businesses and is therefore a bad idea. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, it is clear that we must move towards practical environmental solutions before putting a band-aid on this issue. Thank you.
I call upon the first negative speaker, Iris Lee.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that the banning of plastic straws, stirrers and cutlery in South Australia is a bad idea. We agree with the definition given by the affirmative team, but strongly believe that the statement is false. Today, I will be explaining how plastic pollution is a big problem and how it is having a devastating impact on our environment. Our second speaker will be talking about how plastic straws, stirrers and cutlery are negatively affecting our health and economy. Our third speaker will rebut and sum up our case. The first affirmative speakers tried to tell you we should not be focusing on single-use plastics. This is wrong because banning single-use plastics and bringing attention to these environmental issues will also help raise awareness and then encourage changes in people's behaviour. My first argument is that plastic pollution is a big problem and banning single-use plastics can help combat this issue. Dr. Laura Parker, a researcher at the University of New South Wales, conducted a study on plastic pollution, with the results clearly showing plastic pollution is one of the most pressing environmental issues, as rapidly increasing production of plastic products overwhelms the world's ability to deal with them. And it is getting worse. In South Australia, there was a 36% increase in waste between 2003 and 2013. Banning plastic straws, stirrers and cutlery in South Australia is one of the most effective starting points for reducing this problem in our state. Jeff Engel, director of the Boomerang Alliance, which represents 52 environment groups on plastic, said, "These plastic items are amongst the most littered and represent a major threat to the environment. They all have an available and better alternative." My second argument is that our plastic addiction is having a devastating impact on our oceans and wildlife. According to the United Nations, at least 800 species worldwide are affected by marine debris, and as much as 80% of that litter is plastic. Fish, seabirds and sea turtles can become entangled in or ingest plastic debris, causing suffocation and drowning. An environmental report by the Government of South Australia said that 8 million tonnes of plastic ended up in the ocean each year. The report also explained that if current trends continue, by 2050 there will be more plastics in the ocean than fish. According to Sarah Hanson-Young, a federal senator from South Australia, it is well past time for us to act on this issue. She also commented that for too long, single-use plastics have been unregulated, choking our waterways, oceans and beaches. In conclusion, it is evident that plastic straws, stirrers and cutlery must be banned. Thank you.
I call upon the second affirmative speaker, Madison Mitchell-Smith.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that the banning of plastic straws, stirrers and cutlery in South Australia is a bad idea. We, the affirmative team, strongly believe this statement is true. The first negative speaker has said that we have said we don't want to focus on single-use plastics. This is wrong. We know we must address it, but we believe this ban is not the right way to address this serious problem. Our first speaker, Viddy, has already explained how a ban on select single-use plastics is a distraction from the core plastic issues, that a ban is an unnecessary political stunt, and that it will hurt SA businesses. Today I'll be talking to you about how this ban will harm disabled communities and that there are more effective solutions to the plastic problem. To my first point, that the ban will disadvantage the disabled who rely on plastic straws and cutlery day to day. Disability South Australia made a statement angrily opposing the ban, even with the adjustments in the legislation. Many disability advocates have also opposed the ban. Why? A Vox report said that the reusable straws can be hard to maintain and sterilise, while compostable products can dissolve in hot liquids and present a choking and allergy hazard. Metal straws break the teeth of people with poor mouth control. Unofficially disabled people who still have needs will too be excluded from having straws available. Disabled advocates also say having to ask for tools to reinforce the difference between them and the rest of the community, saying that if they are the only people to have these special items, then they are against special. This is a hit to well-earned dignity, ostracizing the disabled community from others. The ban on these plastics is a hurtful, bad idea. To my final point, there are better solutions to the plastic problem than a ban. The American Chemistry Association says that the focus on individual products takes our focus away from more necessary discussions on waste and plastic. This ban is a blunt instrument. Promoting plastic-free solutions, waste disposal improvement, and encouraging research and education is the way to go. The NBC says that an effective method in the US has been the green tax cuts. They reward businesses that think green. Studies show research and clean industry ideas improve because of these positive moves. Investors too also get on board green businesses, helping everyone win. McDonald's Australia has taken steps to eliminate packaging through what they call design innovation, introducing reusable materials in time. They see this as a long-term progressive solution, not a rushed ban. The ban is a simplistic and restrictive idea. So, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, it is clear that this ban does not have the outcome we need to see. It is simply not a fair idea. The solutions we need are outside of the box and not going to be found in this ban. Thank you.
I call upon the second negative speaker, Kyla Tajani.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that the banning of plastic straws, stirrers and cutlery in South Australia is a bad idea. We, the negative team, believe that this statement is false. The affirmative team has tried to tell you that this plastic ban will hurt Australian businesses. This is incorrect because businesses could see this as an opportunity to include more environmental packaging. Doing this could increase customer loyalty and actually enhance the image of their brand. The second affirmative speaker has also tried to tell you that people with disabilities need plastic straws. The South Australian government has made exemptions for people with a disability or medical need to use the banned items. The first speaker has already stated that plastic pollution is a problem and that banning single-use plastics will help combat this issue. They have also explained that plastics can have a devastating impact on the environment. Today, I will be talking to you about how single-use plastics pose a health threat and have a negative impact on our economy. My first argument is that single-use plastics pose a health threat. These plastics grow into microplastics as a consequence of plastic pollution. Microplastics can be eaten by animals in the ocean and some may end up back on your plate. Researchers at the University of Newcastle in Australia estimated that people consume about 5 grams of plastic a week, roughly the equivalent of a credit card. Chemistry professor Pete Myers at the University of Carnegie Mellon says it's likely that ingesting microplastics could further expose us to chemicals found in some plastics that are known to be harmful. These chemicals have been linked to many health problems, such as organ damage. Marco Lambertini, Worldwide Fund for Nature International Director General, agrees. If we don't want plastics in our bodies, we need to stop the millions of tons of plastic that continue leaking into nature each year. He says that in order to tackle the plastic crisis, we need to target the 10 worst single-use plastics, which include bags, straws, and plastic cutlery. My second argument is that plastic pollution has a negative impact on our economy. A report by the United Nations Environment Programme explained that the cost of plastic pollution is approximately 13 billion Australian dollars per year in environmental damage to marine ecosystems. This includes financial losses incurred by fisheries and tourism, as well as time spent cleaning up beaches. Oceans are critical to sustaining life's natural support systems. They contribute to the livelihoods, culture, and well-being of communities all around the world. They also play a vital role in the global economy by providing food and a source of income for millions of people. A recommendation from the report was for governments to develop legislation to facilitate sustainable management of plastic. Clearly, banning single-use plastics in South Australia is following these recommendations. Hence we, the negative team, strongly believe that the banning of plastic straws, stirrers, and cutlery is a good idea. Thank you.
Call upon the third affirmative speaker, Unley.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that the banning of plastic straws, stirrers and cutlery in South Australia is a bad idea. We, the affirmative team, most strongly and undoubtedly believe this statement to be true. The first negative speaker has said that this is a step forward we need to take towards a healthy ocean and environment, but this is false. It is clear that this legislation is a bad idea because it doesn't go far enough and creates a false sense of achievement. When bans like these are created, we celebrate a change that ought not to be celebrated. This ban is a step away from the change that needs to happen. If we want to take a step towards a healthier ocean and environment, we must make big change where it matters. Yes, we must act, but this is not the way. The second negative speaker has said that single-use plastics are bad for the economy. However, this still comes down to how we use the plastics. Again, education and innovation is the route we must take, not a ban. The second negative speaker has also told you that disabled people will still have options with this legislation. So they have to ask and communicate. As our second speaker, Madison, has explained, they are still made to feel different or special and rely on others to provide, despite this new way of, making sure they don't have to, not use them. They still have to ask, and that ostracizes, taking away their independence. It also eliminates the much-needed options for those who use straws but are not registered with a disability. The first negative speaker has told you all that this ban is going to help plastic and the fight against it. But while this ban may make a small change, it is only scratching the surface of the global problem we have with single-use plastics and plastic in general. According to the World Wildlife Fund, if we want to make a difference, we must solve this crisis through accountability. They say that plastic producers are not being held accountable for the negative impacts of production that it has, and the lack of systems accountability has contributed to the current situation of plastic production and increasing plastic pollution. If we want to fix the problem, we must first fix the system and educate. That is what needs to happen in terms of plastic pollution, not this counterproductive ban. Our first speaker, Vidhi, spoke to you about how a ban on some single-use plastics is a distraction from the core plastic pollution issues, how the ban is an unnecessary virtue-signalling political stunt, and at how it comes at the worst possible time for South Australian businesses who are struggling in the current COVID-19 pandemic. Our second speaker, Madison, explained that the ban will disadvantage the disabled community who rely on the cutlery and straws day to day, as well as how there are better and more effective solutions to our plastic problem than a Band-Aid ban. We have proven to you that this ban is a bad idea, not only because it is a political stunt that focuses on the low-hanging fruit, but also because it causes harm and doesn't target the issues that must be solved. So, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, this ban is a bad idea. As Mark Twain once said, if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do first thing in the morning. If it's your job to eat 2 frogs, eat the biggest one first. Let's make our next target the biggest frog, what we do with our waste.
I call upon the third negative speaker, Arabella Vaughan.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that the banning of plastic straws, stirrers and cutlery in South Australia is a bad idea. We, the negative team, strongly believe that this statement is false. The affirmative team is trying to tell you that the banning of these utensils is a cover-up for the government. As our first speaker said, plastic pollution is a serious problem, and the outcome of this ban can only benefit us, which is why we need to take action, whether or not it is a political stunt.
The affirmative team has also tried to tell you that businesses are not ready for this change. A minimum of 6 months is plenty of time for businesses to adapt. We need to act quickly to help us end the earth. Were businesses ready for the coronavirus? Of course not. The ability to adapt will help a business with growth and essentially set them up to be ready for anything. The affirmative team has also tried to tell you that South Australia banning these plastics will not make a big enough difference. No, it might not make a big difference immediately, but if we lead the way, and others will follow us. And an example of this is when we ban plastic bags. Many states and other countries have now followed us, such as New South Wales. Our first speaker spoke to you about how plastic pollution is a big problem, and banning single-use plastics is a step in the right direction. Jeff Engel, Director of Boomerang Alliance, which represents 52 environmental groups on plastic, said, "These single-use plastic items are amongst the most littered and represent a major threat to the environment. They all have an available and better alternative. Banning plastic straws, stirrers and cutlery in South Australia is one of the most effective starting points for reducing this problem in our state." She also stated how plastic is having a devastating impact on our oceans and wildlife. An environmental report by the Government of South Australia said that if current trends of plastic use continue, by 2050 there will be more plastics in the ocean than fish. According to Sarah Hanson-Young, a federal senator from South Australia, it is well past time to act on this issue. She also commented that for too long, single-use plastics have been unregulated, stripping our waterways and oceans. Our second speaker spoke to you about how single-use plastics pose a health threat due to becoming microplastics. Marco Lambertini, WWF International Director General, agrees. If we don't want plastics in our bodies, we need to stop the millions of tons of plastic that continue leaking into nature every year. In order to tackle the plastic crisis, we need to target the 10 worst single-use plastics, which includes bags, straws, and plastic cutlery. She also stated that plastics and plastic pollution have a large impact on our economy. A report by the United Nations Environment Programme explained that the cost of plastic pollution is over 18 billion Australian dollars per year in environmental damage to marine ecosystems. This includes financial losses incurred by fisheries and tourism, as well as time spent cleaning up beaches. Hence, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, we, the negative team, strongly believe that the banning of plastic straws, stirrers and cutlery in South Australia is a good idea. Thank you.
I invite a representative of the adjudication panel to come forward to announce the results.
Sorry, I guess I'll kind of stand over here, generally looking at everyone. So tonight, as you will have noticed, we have a panel of 3 adjudicators. So we're not going to go through individual feedback for each speaker, we're just going to award the debate and the debating award. Firstly though, congratulations to both teams on making it to the semi-finals, especially when there are so many teams in this division. It's a very, very impressive effort, and you should both be very proud. It was a very high quality debate as well, particularly for this level. So congratulations again to both teams. We do, however, have to award a winner. And so I can announce that tonight the 3 of us have unanimously awarded the debate to the affirmative team. Congratulations. Additionally tonight I can announce that we have awarded the debating award to 3rd affirmative speaker, Evelyn Greer. So,
I call upon a member of the runner-up team to give a vote of thanks.
We appreciate Nazareth College for hosting this debate. Thank you for the judges for adjudicating this debate. We thank our parents, teachers for their support they have given us this term. Thank you for the timekeeper, chairman, and Parkside Primary School for an outstanding debate. Thank you.
I call upon a member of the winning team to second that vote of thanks.
We would like to also thank Debating SA for organising this and Nazareth for hosting. We thank Unley for an amazing debate. You were great opponents. And our parents for supporting us and bringing us here, as well as our principal and deputy for making it all possible. But most of all, we thank our amazing coach, Mr. Freak, without whom we would not be here. You've been so supportive and have carried us through this for 3 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance. I now declare this debate closed.